guys, welcome to another episode of Complex Like Wine, the podcast where we talk about complicated things and improve over time, just like wine does. I'm really excited for this episode just because we have Mariah on, and what she does in her business is really, I think it's so badass. I think it's super awesome. It's definitely not like the conventional, at least not from where I'm from. Like no one else I know does this. So I'm so excited to kind of learn more about how you got into it and what things you've seen come out of it with like mental health and then just anything else. But yeah, so Mariah she runs a boudoir photography business with her husband. So I'm just going to let you just take it away and kind of just take it from there.
Yeah, awesome. So yes, my name is Mariah. My husband and I, we started our company Bare Heart Boudoir in February of 2020. Because you start a business a month before a pandemic hits. And so we started this because we had sold our previous business a few years prior, and we knew that we really liked working with each other and we worked with each other very well. So he is the creative genius when it comes to our businesses. And then I get to add my little spice to everything, which I love. We make a good team. And so I actually had a boudoir experience I want to say it was 2018. And Patrick actually set it up for me. He had one of his friends. It was great. One of his friends, who was actually our wedding photographer, she was coming down. And he said, hey, she's coming down and I want to get you this boudoir session. And I said, no problem. I'd love to do it. Give me like 3 months. He's like, oh, well, she'll be in town this weekend. And I said, well, I'm not ready yet. Like I have to lose weight, And he's like, well, it's no problem. If you don't want to do it, it's fine. She's in town this weekend. It's our only chance to do it. And I just didn't want to miss the opportunity. Mm-hmm. And so did the session, absolutely loved it. And then I changed. And I think it was Patrick noticed the change in me, that was really the aha moment for both of us. Like I could feel it, but he could really feel it too. And we are, our businesses have always been experience-based businesses. So it's more than just we knew that we wanted to do more than just a photo session. Come in, take some sexy pictures, feel good, and then have a good day. We wanted to create an entire day around it, which has now turned into almost like a 2-day experience for our clients to come in. And we absolutely love it. He is the photographer and I am the number one cheerleader. So I get to help our clients with everything else. So Patrick does the photos, he does the editing. He actually shows our clients how to do the posing as well, which is super, super fun. And actually at the beginning, when we first started this, I assumed that I was going to be the one doing that. And he was going to be taking pictures. And right away, it was actually his decision. And I am so happy with this. He said, I think it would be best if I did it. And I was like, why? He said, I'm a little less, he's not necessarily that I'm intimidating, but he's like, look at me. He's like, and he started doing it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, him and I are like the same size. We're smaller people. And so he is not, I tell people he's not intimidating. Mm-hmm. When you look at him, he's in his pink Crocs and he's very personable and he just has this calming aura about him. And then I'm in the background telling people how beautiful they are and how amazing they are and, doing my little touches, fixing their hair. But we really wanted to create a day around it because I realized with my session, which was super, super fun, and I got a lot out of it, I still was nervous. And we realized that the longer we're with people, the more relaxed people are. And so we start our days at 9 a.m. and we usually finish with our clients about 2 p.m. So it's not a typical come in, shoot for an hour, shoot for 2 hours and send you on your way. So we have a lot of downtime, and a lot of the downtime is us sitting and talking with our clients. It's they're, sitting on the floor and we're sitting down talking to them, just getting to know them. Because it's very rare that people get a day that's all about them. And now we have women, we have couples, and we have men come into the studio. So we've expanded a lot over the past couple of years. And I love being able to offer that to people where they don't have to worry about a thing. You could show up to our studio in a robe and we will make sure that all of your outfits and your hair and makeup and how to pose and where to look and everything is taken care of for you, from what you're going to eat to drink to the temperature in the room to the music that's being played. Everything is something that we have curated for our client that's coming in. And we love it. And I get a lot out of it. I get to see the change and the transition that happens with people. And then after their session, they come in. Patrick edits usually for a couple of days, and then they come in and get to see their reveal, their pictures at the reveal. And that's another experience in itself.
Right.
Either at that point, people come in individually or they bring people with them, which is very common. They'll bring a significant other, they'll bring friends. We've had moms, we've had their kids come in. So we have all different sorts of people come in for reveals. And that's really fun because that's when our clients actually get to see the final product and final images of them. And they get to choose, which images they want. And that is another couple hour experience that we get to go through, where it's a moment where you're looking at yourself on the screen. And we all do this, where we pick ourselves apart. And it's the time in life when you no longer do that. You're looking at everything that you love about yourself and you're complimenting yourself. And so we have signs in the studio like positive body language, positive body talk. And I make sure it reveals that we're commenting on what we love. And yeah, that's kind of us in a nutshell, but we love being able to do it.
Yeah. So background to everyone that's listening. Also, before I get into it, I forgot to mention we have our wine in hand.
We do.
We do. I'm drinking a Pinot Noir. What are you drinking?
This was it's Fireball.
Oh, any alcohol's welcome on the podcast.
Yes. So I was thinking wine and whiskey.
Oh, wine and whiskey. There we go. Yeah.
No whiskey tonight.
No, sometimes I have guests that they don't drink wine. And so we'll either do like a cocktail, or if they don't drink alcohol, then we'll have tea. So it's a very beverage friendly.
Yeah, I love it. I know. I was like, do I open a bottle of wine? I'm like, oh, I got Fireball in the fridge. Perfect.
Well, cheers.
Cheers.
But yeah, so how Mariah and I got connected. For people listening, if you follow me on social media, you would have seen in beginning of April, I was doing a wine tour up in Paso Robles. So I met Mariah through this women empowerment group that's all up in SLO called Women Making Waves. And she has a Women Making Waves mug right now. I almost was going to drink out of my tumbler from it, but it's a really awesome group where it's just all these women that really just own who they are and whatever type of realm they're in. So lots of entrepreneurs, lots of life coaches, and everything about that. So it's just, when I first met Mariah through the group chat, immediately I can tell she's the cheerleader for everything. She's always responding, hyping everybody up. So I'm just picturing you in that realm of making it just all these women, men, doesn't matter who, just so much more comfortable and confident in themselves. And just when I first saw your Instagram page, just seeing everything and just the way it's all set up, and I definitely want to book an experience at some point. For sure. Yeah.
We'll be here when anybody's ready.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I'm curious. Okay. So it is really awesome that you and your husband work well together, because I know there's a lot of couples or even friendships where you guys are great, but then as business partners, it's a no. So I'm going to just want to kind of touch in on that. So, since you guys already previously worked together, what were some things you guys needed to learn from each other, or needed to learn in regards of boundaries, or just dynamics that make it healthy for you? That way it doesn't impede into your relationship.
Oh, yeah. Oh my gosh. I love that question. And it's something that I continue to work on. In our last business, I was better at it. But not taking work home. is because we work together, because we're husband and wife. Patrick has always been an entrepreneur, and I came from the hospitality and then banking background. So I was very corporate when we first met, and I thought I'm going to work at Chase. I'm going to work here. I've been here for however long at the time. I was there for 8 years total, and I was like, I'm going to work here forever. And then Patrick comes along and he says, well, I live my life a little different than most. I was like, okay, what does this mean? And he does. He says that he likes to say he lives his life as though he's halfway retired. What does that mean? He's like, well, I work my butt off, and then when I need to take time off, I can take the time off. Basically, he's an entrepreneur. So he is really good about keeping that separation between work and home. And that's something that I continue to work on. It's been, and we still continue to learn about our roles and what we do. He has the creative side and I have the structure. And so together we make a really, really good team. Sometimes we can butt heads because I want things black and white sometimes. Mm-hmm. And he's, whoa, we can live in color. And I'm like, whoa, what about that gray? Like he just goes straight to the color. And so it's about communicating with each other. We really try to communicate and see where we're at when it comes to the business. One thing that Patrick and I talked about recently is when he created this business, he created it with me in mind because he knew that it was something that I was going to be able to excel at. He has a photography background, and so I trust him with that. But he really wanted to do something, and this is why I love him so much. He wanted to do something that he knows that I would enjoy. And I was like, how did you know that I was meant to be a cheerleader? Like, how did you know that? And so I'm very grateful and very appreciative to him for that. But it is something where I find that I am really involved. I face the clients a lot and people see me a lot, though in the background, he is the one that's doing, I would really say, like realistically, he's probably doing about 70% of the actual work. Mm-hmm. And then I do 30% of it, but I'm what people see. And so what I am trying to work on right now is taking a little bit off of his shoulders and adding more onto my plate. I said, he's the creative genius. And I think what I do is I stop myself. I've always said, well, I'm not creative. And I don't necessarily give myself the opportunity to maybe think that I am. Mm-hmm. And so I'm trying to find that little balance where I can ease some of his workload.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so in terms of like what your company is, it's all boudoir. So it's like a very intimate business. From your perspective, was there any kind of hesitations with like you doing it with your husband, or like how was there any like things that you guys had to work on through that together, or that's awesome?
Yeah, no, we're just, we're very open with each other. And we have trust and communication, and there's never been any, the thing that, a pet peeve of mine is when people say, oh my gosh, Patrick's so lucky to have that job. And I'm like, people don't actually know what it takes to do his job. Mm-hmm. Because not everybody is going to go to a male photographer. And right. So it is a pet peeve of mine when people will say little things about him, something about men being a photographer and he's lucky or whatever. And I'm like, actually, he has a very challenging job. He has to get people who are in very intimate situations, right? And he has to make them comfortable, feel good, and then have nice expressions on their face, pose them in a way that makes them feel comfortable, and then turn this product around to them that makes them see themselves in a way that we see them. And I'm like, that's very challenging. It's not, it's not what people assume. I'm not going to say what people assume, but it's it was never an issue for us. I think that there's nobody better for the job. If people want to have a husband and wife team, we're a pretty darn good husband and wife team. Like I'm okay with tooting my own horn now. But there was never anything that there's never any tension. There's never we didn't have to get past anything. We're very open individuals. Just how both of us were raised. We were very lucky how both of us were raised. He was raised by a single lesbian mom who had her boudoir pictures up in the house. And so for him, it's normal. Like this is just how life is. And so, and then like maybe it was, I don't know, a year into our business, my sister and I were going through my grandma's photo album and found like a boudoir picture like my grandpa had taken of her. And I'm like, wait a minute, this is like in my blood. Like, oh my gosh, like we're meant to do this. We're meant to do this. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I was just really curious because like not every relationship can have that dynamic. So,
oh my gosh, no. And it was funny in our first business, we built the first escape room that was on the Central Coast. It's called the Locked In, still going strong, love it. And when we started there, or when we'd have a little spiel. So I had my little spiel and blah blah blah, and my husband, and then Patrick would enter the room. And we went through our thing. And this guy stopped me one time and he's like, whoa, you work with your husband? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, oh, you like it? And I'm like, I do. And he's like, and you're not even lying. And it was 6 people, three sets of couples. And all of them were like, how can you work with your spouse? Oh my gosh, I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. And I literally didn't know that people couldn't do that. And I was like, oh, and I do know that we're very lucky. That we can work together and we do it well. Mm-hmm. I know that we're blessed. It does help that we're similar in ways and very, very, very opposite in ways.
Yeah, very complementary.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Like we're both the same sign. We're both Sagittarius. So that works in our favor a lot of the times. A lot of the time. Mm-hmm. But it is a fire sign and he married a redhead. So
drinking Fireball.
Yeah, I know, drinking Fireball. I know, right? Yeah. So he gets that.
All right. So yeah, like people that are listening, check. I'm going to link her Instagram or the company's Instagram. That way you guys can see. But you can just immediately as you swipe through, and especially when you post on your story about you and your husband working together, it just radiates that you guys have such an amazing dynamic, and that all the people that are being photographed, you can tell they're just totally like in their element. And just the whole process I've seen, like where you guys get them all pampered up, and then like they just make it a day, make them special.
Yeah.
So in regards to what you've seen with your clients, or even with yourself after your boudoir experience, mm-hmm. like just like the confidence, mental health, like how would you say like when they're booking an appointment with you compared to when they get the reveal and all, like how do you see that kind of that transition, that arc?
Is that right? I love that question. So it's very hard for people to call. And we have people that will set up phone calls and then not answer. It's a tough phone call to make. I promise the only person that's going to be on the other end of that phone call is me. But people are nervous. I was nervous, and there's always a reason not to do it. Usually the number one reason not to do it is weight. That was my reason. A number one reason is I've never done it before. I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to pose. Another reason, it's a financial commitment, which we understand. It's an investment in yourself. And so once I get somebody on the phone, I talk with them, here they are nervous. And then it's nerves and excitement. So there's some fear, there's excitement happening. And then they come in for the session, and I can watch the transformation happen before they've switched to the second outfit. I mean, I literally know the moments that it happens. The first, Patrick always warms everybody up with, some practice shots and being goofy. And it is within 5 minutes. And I swear if I could like have like this magical fairy dust and watch the nerves go out the window, it would be amazing. And then Patrick gives a little sneak peek of what's like behind the camera. And, he takes a picture and shows. So the clients can know, how they're doing. And right then it's oh my gosh, it's one of those, is that me? It's not, that's a straight from you to the camera back to you. And so seeing that and hearing that sets that, knowing that they feel like that now, they're already, their confidence is already boosted. And then they continue the session like that. And it just gets better and better. And then when they come in for the reveal, majority of the time, most of the time people cry. And I love it. I love making people happy. I also love making people cry happy tears. And what I told somebody this the other day, when it comes to booking your session, there's this thing that happens with your confidence and just your being afterwards. You don't lose the weight before the session. You don't get the girl before the session. You don't get pregnant before the session. You don't get the divorce before the session. All of that happens after the session, because whatever your body needed at the time, your body releases the stress. And I cannot tell you how many turnarounds we've had from people that have been like, wait, this was a pivotal moment in my life that happened afterwards. I had the courage to do this. I went on that blind date. And my favorite story is the day of a session. We told this woman, we said, don't waste your hair and makeup tonight. And we told her, go out and paint the town. And she went on a first date and she got married less than 4 months after that. And they're expecting their first child, in like a month or two.
Oh my God.
I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, that is like the ultimate Bare Heart story. That is the ultimate Bare Heart story. But it's, there's all different things. We've had, like I said, divorce. We've had people that have come in and be like, you know what? No, this is what I needed to like own my worth and say, you know what? I'm worth it. And if the person that I've been with for however many years doesn't know that I'm worthy, I don't need to be with them. And I'm not saying, it's, people come in for all different sorts of reasons. And whatever it is, it's that little fire that people need. And so the transitions, everyone has their own different experience. And the transitions that we've seen over the years is just phenomenal.
Wow.
Yeah.
As right before you shared your favorite story, I was thinking in my head, like, I need to ask her, what are your favorite stories? You need to make a little Bare Heart little baby onesie. And
yes, oh my
that way the baby can have it.
Bare Heart baby, the Bare Heart baby. Yes. Yes, I can get Patrick to do that. He has a Cricut.
Oh my goodness. Okay. If you don't mind sharing, what are some other stories that you can think off the top of your head that have just been like very monumental?
So I love it when couples come in. So we started offering couples boudoir a little more than a year ago. And watching, I will tell you that men are more nervous coming into the studio than women are.
I was gonna guess that, just because it's kind of like a weird scenario for them to just be photographed. Like I would imagine, correct me if I'm wrong, like women, they kind of are more welcoming to the idea of getting that attention when they've like invested and like made a schedule for it, versus men, they don't get attention nearly as much, whether it's on social media, family, friends, ever. So I would imagine that's just a little bit overwhelming for them at first.
Yeah. Nail on the head with that. Absolutely. They're overwhelmed. They don't know what to expect. They don't have friends that have done it. Women get referred to us because a friend has done it. We are 99% word of mouth. I think we've had like 2 people from Yelp, but we're mostly word of mouth. And so not many men come in because it's like, well, my wife or my girlfriend, my partner, she brought me in here. She really wanted to do it. watching the transition with some of the men that have come into the studio, I didn't know that it was going to be like the transition that women have. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And seeing couples and seeing their love. And because when it's couples, I get to step back just a little bit because I'm still in the room, but I step back a little bit and there's little conversations that happen between people. And one of our clients, they said at the reveal, they said, you know what? They said, we talk to each other and we have these little stories and, in our bedroom, we do these things. And it was very interesting inviting you guys into that. And I was like, oh, like we were just at home, having these, and then you guys were in that and it was okay. And I was like, oh my gosh, that just like made me feel really good that they felt as though, like I felt as though we were inviting them into our space and they felt as though they were inviting us into their space. And I was like, oh my gosh, what just like a perfect little mesh right there.
That's really interesting because, yeah, like when it's like pillow talk and you're at night with your significant other, that's like a very like home-based intimate time.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then you're doing that and then having people one person watch and then somebody else take pictures of it, but the environment is comfortable enough for them to be able to do that. And so when they told me that, like I watched that happening, during their session, and then the reveal, when they told me that, I was like, oh yeah. Like that made me feel really good. Yeah, it's a safe environment for people to do what they want. It's Patrick and I are, we tell people you're not going to make us blush. We're a professional business. But if you want to be fully clothed, if you want to be nude, whatever works for the individual or the couple, we're going to make sure that you're comfortable and relaxed because we know that that's when the best pictures are going to happen.
Right.
Yeah.
So for people listening that have thought about boudoir or maybe not boudoir specifically, but kind of like an experience like this where it's just very out of their comfort zone, what would be advice that you would give to them? Or what would be something you would tell like a girlfriend or a guy, like whatever?
Totally. First off, talk with somebody that you know that's done it. And then talk with your photographer. I mean, you have to talk. If you don't build that connection, I tell people, hey, we're going to be on the phone for 10 minutes. And if in that 10 minutes, we have not made a connection, we're not the people, right? Like we already know that. So research, look at them on Instagram, look at them on their social medias. And if you connect with that person and you like their work, that's what you're going to need to go to. You have to be drawn to the people. Obviously work first, make sure, you like their photographs. But if you're nervous, that person is going to be the one to calm your nerves. They're going to be the one to make sure that you're relaxed. So if you've started to build that connection, I start building that connection on that first phone call. And that's why I make sure there is not one person that comes in the studio without being on the phone with me. It's not going to happen. I need to make sure that we're the right fit for you and vice versa. And so I start to build that connection months before the session happens. And then we're staying in contact leading up to the session. So we're messaging, we're sending emails, they're texting me. So it's really finding somebody that you can trust and really going with your gut. You're going to know if this person is the right person for you. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No, that makes total sense. Yeah, and I like that you guys have the initial conversation beforehand, and it's really good that you let them know, like, hey, if this doesn't work out, it's totally fine.
Yeah,
there's better options.
Absolutely. Like my thing is like, we're not for everybody. Like I totally get it. If somebody's like, hey, I want to take these beautiful pictures on the beach, and I'm going to say that is lovely, and let me refer you to so and so. But I know. Usually, when people reach out to us, they've already, seen our Instagram or seen our website and understand that we have a studio. And also I'm very honest with people as well. If people, like, oh, I want to just take, some sexy pictures and this, and like, there's a difference between just taking some sexy pictures and having a day that is all about you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can tell you tips on how to take those sexy pictures at home, but it's different when you're in a separate environment.
Right. Yeah. And then I think it's also just really great that you guys have it curated to a whole day to them.
Yeah.
Instead of just like, all right, come in, undress or whatever. Let me take some pictures. Bye. Thanks. Like it. Oh, go ahead.
Patrick is really good about, he keeps the conversation on that person. So the entire day, they're talking about themselves and themselves, their, whatever it is. But it is very, very rare that that happens. I mean, I tell people, even on your wedding day, it's about two people. It's about two people. It's not a bride day. It's not a groom day. It's not a bride and bride day. It's about two people. This is a day that's just about one person. And so there's people that come in and I ask, do I need to hide your phone? Or do you want, to be in the hair and makeup room to take selfies? If you don't want your family to get in touch with you today, I will totally hide your phone until you leave. But we want people to be able to, which is also one of the reasons why it is just the client. If one client or if it's a couples, it's only them in the studio. Nobody else comes in. You're a completely different person if it doesn't matter if it's your best friend and she's already seen you naked. I promise when all of our attention is just on you and you're the only person answering questions, you don't look at someone else, it's a completely different experience.
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, because then you're going to end up going to the person's like a safety net.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. So I tell people, I'm like, oh, if you want that, I'm your person. I'm your best friend for the day. Hey, you've hired me to be your best friend for the day. And I do. And I help everybody. When ladies come in and they're trying on clothes, I watch their eyes and their reactions and they're like, yeah, like I can tell, like, if you're not feeling that outfit, I'm going to have you change that outfit because you have to feel good. And right. I've done that many, countless times. I'm like, let's try on a different one. And they put on another one and they love it. I'm like, aren't we glad we did that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, from your experience when you first did the boudoir shoot, like, how can you, like, what were the things you noticed, like, going into it? Because, you mentioned, like, a little bit of weight, like, you were hesitant first, and then afterwards, what were things you noticed a difference in yourself?
Dude, my sex life. Yeah. Like, for real. And I was just talking with somebody. We're drinking Fireball, right? Talking with somebody the other day about, just some sexy pictures. And I'm like, it's not just some sexy pictures. It's the sex that you had after you got the sexy pictures, right? It's the gift that keeps on giving.
I love that.
Yeah, like it really does. For me, I changed about what I was saying to myself. And it was a little bit with that boudoir, but also starting the company, starting Bare Heart Boudoir and having women come in and having other people come in. I have just gotten better with how I talk to myself. Like I got a little bit better after the experience and it just started me on that right track. And now like I have practiced what I preach, right? Nobody's perfect. We're all going to have crappy days. But I'm a lot nicer to myself than I was before. I was extremely unhealthy before, doing different, not even like diets, just like not eating, to lose weight. And I was very critical of all different parts of my body. And creating this business has made me see myself in a completely different way. After my session, I lost weight. My weight fluctuates. My weight will fluctuate like 9 pounds in like 2 weeks. It just happens. It happens.
Especially for women.
Yeah. And I honestly, I don't even care anymore. I honestly don't even care. I'm like, that's fine. Like, that's fine. Like sometimes I need a little fluff and sometimes I don't. Sometimes I want to have like 2 Whoppers and sometimes I don't. Like, that's fine. But I've become a lot more gentle on myself. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Still a work in progress, but I'm a lot nicer to myself.
What would be some advice on that note? Like some background on me, when I finally started going to therapy for the first time, which is what led into this podcast, one of the first books I read was Self-Compassion by Kristen Neff, and it's all about just changing the way you treat yourself and you talk to yourself. And for me, I think that was like the key point on just how I felt about myself, the whole idea of like actually loving yourself and
Yeah.
just embracing who you are, because this is the only body you get, and like this is you. So for people listening out there that are, they know they need to get to that point of just like the change needs to happen, like what are some ways you would suggest of like they can start working on that?
So I say I love you to myself. And it was really awkward. It was really awkward at first. But I find that one thing that you have always loved about yourself. A lot of times people will say their smile, their eyes, their hair, their butt, whatever it is. Start with that one thing and compliment it every single day. Every single day, be like, oh my gosh, I love my hair. Oh my gosh, I love my hair. And then once you get used to that, pick one more thing, but make sure every single day, not in your head, you have to say it out loud. I'm a big believer in like, you have to say things to the universe. Like it doesn't know what's going on up in here. Like you have to put it out there. Big believer in power of positivity. So speaking what you want, I look in the mirror often and I say, whatever it is, I'll say like, I'm a beautiful woman. I'm a wealthy woman. I'm a healthy woman. And I am a blank woman. That's my thing now. And whatever the thing is for the day that I need, I put that in there. And then I just keep saying over and over again. And I'll like have my sunglasses on and be like, oh, ooh, I'm a badass woman. Okay. And then like, ooh, I'm a wealthy woman. Okay. But constantly, complimenting yourself. It's hard. It's awkward. It is. I was listening to something on IG the other day. It was a reel and I can't remember who it was. And they said, what's the best advice you've ever given? And now I do it to myself. And the woman said, never walk by a mirror without giving yourself a high five. I was like, oh, that's a good one.
I like that.
That's a good one. Yeah. And I'm like, I can't remember who said it. But I was like, oh yeah, that's a very good one. But just start with one thing. Yeah. And if you can't start with complimenting yourself, compliment someone else. It is a lot easier to compliment someone else, right? It's a lot easier to compliment someone else. So compliment someone else. If you get a compliment, accept it. It is so often if I'm like, oh, Zara, I love your shirt. And people are like, I've had this for years.
Yep.
Thank you. I love this shirt too. It's so often we brush off compliments. And so I find that the more I compliment other people, I'm receiving compliments more. And I'm more open to receiving them. Because before I wasn't.
That is a really, yeah, I think for a long time, if I got a compliment, like, oh, I love your hair, like you smile, I'm like, like, thanks, or whatever, like, kind of make a joke out of it to downplay it, because I would get awkward with the attention. Or I've noticed, especially with, like, exes, they would compliment me a lot at once, and I just get really uncomfortable that I'm just like, thanks, like, try to make it weird. And it's just, I've had to learn of, like, you're allowed to accept it. Like, there's nothing wrong with it. You're allowed to, like, own that you're freaking gorgeous or badass or, like, accomplished or smart, whatever.
Yes.
And I think, and I've noticed this with friends, too, where you give them a compliment and it's the whole, they downplay it or they say, like, oh, no, I'm not. And we don't realize when you're having that negative self-talk to yourself, you really start to believe it.
Yes. Nail on the head again. You start to believe it. Yes. And it's changing it, changing the narrative in our own head that we've been programmed. And, we've all been programmed for a different number of years, but it's practice. It's continuous practice. And I'm nowhere where I was 3 years ago, but I also know I'm not even close to where I'm going to be 5 years from now with how I feel about myself. Mm-hmm. We're always changing.
Right.
Yeah.
I love that. So with the female clients and the male clients,
Yeah.
for male listeners and female listeners, is there any difference in the way that you would like approach them if they have hesitations? Like, is there anything like in a general consensus that you notice are like key differences between the two? Or would you say in general it's all kind of from the root cause of whatever fear or anxiety is coming from?
It's all the same. Yep. Yep. We are all human. We have the same fears. We are self-conscious typically about the same things. We're all human. I just see it more with the men when they come in. I mean, it's definitely very, very high with women. And then I didn't realize, I was like, we've had a couple guys book with their significant others that are like, they do the gym thing, but I need to wait until. I'm like, no, you don't need to wait until. Wait until. Yeah, but it's the same. We're all human, and we have insecurities, and it's about pushing past those insecurities. Yeah. And I know it's so cliche, but fake it. You just have to fake it. Fake it till you make it. Fake it till it's real. Yeah. Keep telling yourself. And here's the thing. When you tell yourself, you're not actually faking it, right? It's just you're trying to change that narrative. You're trying to rewire that brain.
Right. Yeah. Obviously, I haven't done boudoir yet. I really want to soon. But
Love that.
Yes. The most like relatable experience I have kind of to the whole idea of like you want to do something, but then the anxiety is karaoke. So the first time I ever did it was back in, I want to say October this past year. Recently, first time I ever did it. I was petrified. I did not look away from the TV because I was just like, let me block everybody out. Let me just like check it off the list. And then the second time I did it was when I was in Paso Robles with all the Women Making Waves group. And, maybe I had liquid courage.
Yeah.
But I honestly wasn't scared. I didn't care. I had 0 Fs to give. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to own it and film myself. Let me sing a sexy song like Amy Winehouse because she's a vibe. And was I great? I don't know. But I had a great time, and that's all that mattered.
Yes. Which makes you great. Right? Because you had a good time and people felt it. People felt that you had a good time. And that's what they're going to remember. They don't know the sound of your voice right now. They can't replay your voice in their head right now, but they know what you looked like. They knew the excitement that you had.
That's spot on, because I would be surprised because I'd get compliments from random people at the bar like, oh, you killed it. And I'm like, oh shit, cool. Yeah. I love it.
Yeah. That's awesome. That is awesome. Good for you. Are you going to do it for a third time?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to actually convince a friend of mine. He's never done it. So I'm like, okay, like he's going through busy season at work right now. So I'm like, let me take you out and we'll do it.
Yes. And see, that's what you need. You need somebody like you that's like, hey, I've had those fears. Like I've been in that spot before and let me help you with it. And you know what? I'll do it with you the first time. People need that. Yeah, that's awesome.
Thanks. Yeah, it was pretty fun. So people listening that are like, okay, I think I get it just a boudoir, I think like I would want to try it. Let's say they're wanting to like book with you. What are some things that you would want to let them know, like what to expect, like the whole process? Like what are things like, if they have questions that might be like, oh, I don't know, what about this? Like, okay, what about the weight? Or like, I don't like how this looks. Like, what are things that you would let them know, like, hey, like we can solve that?
Oh, yes. So as long as people can read, we have them covered. So Patrick has created these guides that walk people through legitimately everything. So we send everybody like our product guide, which has like all of our collections. And then we send our outfit guide. And that's usually where people are like, I don't know what to wear. I'm like, we got you covered. So we have this whole guide that tells you what to wear and what we don't recommend. Because we know that there's certain lingerie, there's certain pieces that feel great, but when we're photographed in them, they don't photograph as well. And so we're very specific about that. And when people come into the studio and bring in those items, I have no problem telling them about that. Like, hey, listen, here's what you brought in and here's what we have. And this is why I suggest that. So we have a guide that will tell people like, if you wax, here's when to wax. If you shave, here's when to shave. If you get a spray tan, this is when we suggest you do it. If you get your nails done, this is when you should do it. These are colors we suggest. So we really walk people through everything. So before they even come in, we've answered lots of questions. We make sure you're completely prepared before you come in the studio. And then once you come in the studio, you don't have to do anything. You literally don't have to do anything because we are there. I will carry your shoes from room to room and I will slip them on your feet. Most people do not wear heels. I'm not a heel person, but we own like 50. No, I think we're over 60 pairs of heels now. Yeah. So I put the heels on and then we'll get you in position and Patrick will say, you know, where to look, how to open your mouth. And then I'll get to talking with you. He'll say something funny. And then the magic happens. But I would tell people that they really don't have to worry about a thing. Honestly, like you just have to get in the door. That's the hardest thing is getting in the door, and investing in yourself. We know it's a financial commitment. And it's something that, like I said, it's the gift that keeps on giving. And so when people are ready to do that, I tell people, you know, we'll have you in the studio. It is usually something that people plan months in advance for though. So most of the time our sessions, somebody will book about 2 to 5 months in advance. It's not typically a call up, hey, I want to do this tomorrow. Mm-hmm. First off, we're not going to be ready. But yeah, it's something that they want to plan ahead for.
Mm-hmm. Out of curiosity, okay, so lingerie, like what are the ones that you don't recommend? Because I would have never thought about that, or like the nails or anything, like what time to wax and shave, like yeah, that's why you're the professional.
Oh my gosh, yes, I know. And we have so many people that try to go crazy with their hair beforehand. I'm like, don't dye your hair beforehand. Don't like pick your hair color a couple months ahead of time. Know your hairdresser, and then we have our hair and makeup stylist. Oh wait, what was your question just now?
So with lingerie, like what are some, yeah.
Yes, baby dolls. So they're tight up top and then they're loose in the stomach area because that's where 90% of the world wants them to be loose. We don't want it loose because as soon as you bend one direction, it flows this way. And then the fabric makes it look like you're larger than you actually are. So slim fitting things. And it's not all lingerie. I would say more than half. I would say 70% of the people that come in, at least 2 of their outfits are not lingerie. And we start with dresses, we start with jeans, corsets, robes, sweaters, but a good chunk of the people do not start in lingerie. And that's also where we build up the comfort level. Mm-hmm. You know, and we start tame and kind of work to wherever anybody wants to go. But we have a huge closet of lingerie as well. And so we have some staple pieces that we just know is going to work. Everybody has a different shape of the body. So we have lingerie from extra small to 4X, and we like to get the same pieces in multiple sizes. Patrick can say, we're doing the floor. How about sparkle? And then I know, okay, I'll know, to go back and here's our sparkles. But yeah, no baby dolls. Unless it's a maternity session and you are trying to accentuate your stomach.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Want to accentuate your belly? Wear a baby doll.
Yeah. Okay. This is really interesting to learn because obviously if you're not into like you're very familiar with like lingerie or like photography, like you wouldn't think of any of this stuff.
Yeah. Oh, and me personally, I own one piece of lingerie at home. I'm not like a lingerie at home type. Like I have like my black panties, that's yeah. But like at home, I don't have a bunch of lingerie. People are like, you must have so much. I'm like, nope, no, I don't. In photographs, yeah, we definitely, but home, the lingerie that you wear at home it can be very different than what you wear in the studio. But I will say If somebody wears a piece of ours lingerie, I would say at least 50% of the time I end up sending people the link to whatever it is. They're like, I love this so much. Can I have the link? Yeah.
Yeah. That makes total sense. So, okay, so like I've gone to festivals and like the outfits and everything. So like I have a few pieces of lingerie that like I've worn to these festivals. And I can already just tell from like the confidence boost that I get, or I'm like, you know what? Like I'm just here. And I think from the festival perspective, that's where like my self-confidence in my body grew, just because you see an array of body types, shapes, sizes, colors, doesn't matter. And so places where I might have been really insecure before, like I'm a small chesty girl, and so especially now that been to the gym and everything, a lot smaller than I've ever been, where I think like maybe like in my early 20s I would have just been like really insecure about it, but now I'm like, you know what, like I fuck with it, I love it, like this is me, like let me like stretch marks, who cares?
Yep. Yes, we all have them. We all have them. When people talk about stretch marks, I talk about Patrick. And Patrick is very, very, very tiny. He's a very, very tiny, petite guy. And he has stretch marks all along the back, his back up to his sides. And it's because his weight has fluctuated. And I'm like, everybody has stretch marks. Everybody does. But I love what you said. It's because, and this is why I find that I get so much out of Bare Heart Boudoir. When you're like at a festival, when you are around people who feel good about themselves, you're like, oh, why aren't I feeling good about myself? Oh, I can? Oh, yes. And it's this mentality that festivals have that are like, oh my gosh, nobody cares what each other look like. And you're like, yes. Oh, cool outfit. Who cares if people have roles and stuff? Like we all have it. We all sit down, right? And so I've only been to one festival. I'd love to go again. Patrick is huge. Patrick absolutely loves them. I'm still new. But the festival that I went to was the first time I wore shorts in, I never unless I was going to maybe like a swimming pool. No, I'd wear pants and then I'd take them to my bathing suit. I don't wear shorts. And I went to the festival and I was like, oh my gosh. And I wore shorts and I just felt so good. They were little like booty shorts and I felt so good about it. So good. Mm-hmm. It's those environments.
Yeah. I think when I first started going, I was 18. And so just seeing, especially, you want to quote unquote what society might be like, oh, maybe this isn't as like conventionally attractive. It didn't, like, none of that matters. Yeah. And then you have people like cheerleaders like you that are hyping everybody up, whether to shake the booty or whatever. And you realize like, oh yeah, I can, it's like, I'm allowed to feel myself like that. This is fine.
Like, absolutely. Like confidence is our sexiness and confidence. Like, when somebody is confident and like we are drawn to them. And it's not based on somebody being 5'10" and 140 pounds or whatever the thing is. Like, no, it's because of the way that they present themselves and hold their head up high. Lizzo is one of the most beautiful, confident women in the entire freaking world.
Yes.
And it's because she knows she is fucking beautiful. And guess what? This world knows it too. We know it, right? Because she holds her head up high and it's like, this is a gorgeous woman. That's what we should strive for.
What would be some advice for like male listeners out there? Because we know you hear a lot more amongst women of like hyping each other up. Men, it's, you're not going to get that dialogue as much. So what would you say to the guys listening?
Oh my gosh, that's a good question. To the men listening, I would say do the same. Do the same thing. Start giving yourself compliments. And you're totally right. You hit the nail on the head again. You're so good. Women, we talk a lot about and to women, but we're all human. We all need the same things. We all need self-love. Just because we are different genders doesn't mean that we don't deserve love and to love ourselves. So start with complimenting yourself. Start with complimenting yourself every single day. And compliment your male friends.
I was just about to say that.
Men don't give each other compliments that I see. I can't, from what I see, but I don't know what happens behind closed doors. But give each other compliments. Women are known to be hype people for each other, right? Like that's what we do. We're darn good cheerleaders. But I want to see men doing it more often. And I think that would start to change the narrative for a lot of people if men start doing that. And then if we hear that, if Patrick was like, hey, Todd, I love your shirt today. Or did you just shave? Did you just get a haircut? Like whatever it is, give your buddy a compliment. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've noticed that amongst my male friends where if I had given them a compliment, like let's say they're like their beard looked good or their hair or their shirt, whatever, like something minor to me.
Yeah.
I realized how much it made an impact on them. Or even with my exes where I realized like starving is not the right word, but almost like they don't get that. And so the one little thing that you can compliment on, it means so much. So yeah, I like what you brought up. Just like anybody listening, the boys out there, compliment each other.
Compliment each other. Yes. Ooh, I gotta write that on IG. Yeah. Men compliment each other. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. So Patrick, we have our wall art. So we have a picture of myself above my desk. And then Patrick took a photo of himself and blew it up and gave it to me as a gift. He also gave it to himself because I've seen him looking at it. I've absolutely seen him looking at it. And I'm like, you deserve that too. You deserve that too. You deserve to look at yourself and be like, yeah, I look good. I feel good. Right? We all deserve it. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Is there anything else you would want to share with listeners out there?
Oh my gosh. I'm trying to think if I have any like last minute. One thing that Patrick and we live by is fear kills dreams. So your fear will kill your dreams. You have to push past it. Do it scared. We're always going to do it scared. Right? Like the first time that you do something, you have to jump off the diving board once, right?
Right.
You're like, oh my gosh, I love this. But you have to do it that first time. Mm-hmm.
I love that. Okay. Guys, remember this, okay? Remember what you just said right now.
Fear kills dreams. Do it.
Well, man, I thank you so much for taking time with me to chat. I really loved being able to like sit down with you officially for the first time.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I know. And next time you're up here, we have to get together.
Yes.
But I missed that wine event.
So I'm planning to be up there beginning of June, like that first weekend of June.
Oh my gosh, it's on.
Okay, perfect. All right, we'll pencil it.
Let's do it. Yes.
Awesome. Well, guys, I hope you thought and found this podcast episode super enlightening and really interesting. I had such a blast talking to you, Mariah. Like, such a blast, yeah. And just being able to learn more about you and your husband in the business because, yeah, guys, I'm going to link her Instagram, like I said before, but please check it out. And if you're ever, like, having the inkling of, like, just the slightest thought, like, maybe you'd want to do it, whether now or in the future, like book it for sure. Because that's been me for, oh my God, I'm trying to remember when I first met you. It's been at least like a few months.
Yeah. Yes. Because I remember I started listening to your podcast. Oh gosh, I can picture where I was when I was at my mother-in-law's house when I was listening to your podcast. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is great. And then because Tyler was on it.
Yes.
Making waves. Yeah. But yeah, it's been a little bit.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, just guys, check her out. She's amazing. And
can I say, even if they're not in our local area, they're welcome to call me or message me. I do know a lot of boudoir photographers around the US. So if people are in another state, let me know and I can direct you to somebody. Even though I can get you kind of close, but also I can just answer some questions, some basic questions or, cheerlead you and try to persuade you to do it.
Oh, that's perfect. Yeah. No, yeah. Okay, so no excuses to anybody. If you're not from the slow, like just reach out to Mariah and she'll direct you to the right person.
Totally.
Awesome. Well, again, thanks guys for listening to this episode. We will catch you in the next one. All right. Deuces. Bye.